So, if you are 55 years old today and you're staring at a 401k balance of like around $87,000, the financial headlines are basically telling you that you've fundamentally failed.
Oh, yeah. They are completely brutal.
Right. Like they project these massive multi-million-dollar benchmarks that they make you feel like you're so far behind, you might as well just give up entirely.
Yeah, but the thing is, those headlines are wrong. I mean, you aren't failing at all. $87,000 isn't an outlier, and it's definitely not a crisis.
Exactly. And according to this really revealing report from Vanguard, it's called How America Saves, that number is actually the exact median for 55 to 64-year-olds with a 401k.
Which is such a profound psychological shift, like you are not behind, you're the baseline.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We really want to throw out those anxiety-inducing articles and unpack the actual catch-up math for the median 55-year-old.
Right, we're pulling from actual IRS data, Federal Reserve numbers, and we've got some very realistic savings scenarios to show you exactly what is possible over this next decade.
Just a quick disclaimer before we get into the weeds here.
Yeah.
Though this is educational content, right? Not personal advice.
Yeah, definitely. Tax limits update every January, so, always verify them at irs.gov or check in with a fee-only professional.
Perfect. So establishing that baseline is crucial because, man, there's an overwhelming amount of conflicting information out there.
Oh, absolutely. If you read the financial news on any given Tuesday, you're going to see like 3 completely different numbers thrown around for the quote-unquote median 55-year-old.
Yes. It drives people crazy. I see this all the time.
It's so confusing.
Reading these 3 numbers in the same week, it basically feels like looking at 3 different maps to navigate a road trip. Like one is a map of a city, one is a map of the state, and one is the entire country. They are all mathematically real maps. But if you use the state map to navigate your local neighborhood, you are going to end up in a ditch.
That map analogy is actually the perfect way to understand this data. So let's look at the first map, the $87,000 figure.
Okay.
That comes from Vanguard. And it specifically looks at workers ages 55 to 64 who actually participate in a 401k plan.
Because Vanguard actually manages those workplace plans.
Exactly. So their data excludes outside IRAs, it excludes taxable brokerage accounts, and most importantly, it excludes people who just don't have a 401k at all.
Right. But then you turn the page and you see this second number everywhere, which is $185,000. And suddenly you feel terrible about yourself again.
Yeah, you feel like you're $100,000 behind. But the context for that $185,000 is that it comes from the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances.
Okay, so different map.
A much broader map, exactly. It measures the median across all retirement account types combined, so 401k, IRAs, pensions, all of it.
Got it.
But here's the catch. It only counts households that have at least some kind of retirement account. It completely filters out the roughly 30% of households in this age cohort that have absolutely zero savings.
Oh, wow. Okay, which brings us to the third number. And this one is just a total gut punch, $10,000.
Yeah, that figure is from the Richmond Fed.
Why is it so low?
Well, they took that exact same Federal Reserve survey data, but they put those zero balance households back into the denominator.
Oh, I see.
So if you look at the true population median, meaning everyone in the country, even those without a dime saved, half of all 55 to 64-year-olds have less than $10,000.
Man. So to go back to that map analogy, which map should you actually be using to navigate?
Well, if you are listening to this and you're working a standard full-time job, you have an employer plan and you're trying to figure out a catch-up strategy,
right,
then that Vanguard number, the $87,000, that is the most honest starting line for your specific peer group. It reflects the reality of a working professional with access to a workplace plan.
You're starting from 87.
Exactly.
Okay, so if we know our true starting line, what is the actual finish line? Because I feel like people take that $87,000 starting point, they look at their required finish line, and they just panic because they calculate their needs completely wrong.
This happens constantly. I mean, all the time. Let's introduce a hypothetical example here. We'll call him Doug.
Okay, let's talk about Doug.
So Doug is 56. He has $87,000 saved, and he is absolutely convinced he needs a portfolio of at least $1.5 million before he can even think about retiring.
And he's getting that number because he's using what's called the 25X rule, right?
Yes. He's taking his total desired income and just multiplying it by 25.
Let's actually slow down and explain that rule for a second because it gets thrown around online as gospel. The 25X rule is just the inverse of the famous 4% withdrawal rate.
Correct. The 4% rule originated from something called the Trinity study.
Right.
Researchers looked at all this historical market data, including the Great Depression, just to figure out how much money a retiree could pull from a diversified portfolio every year without running out of money over a 30-year retirement.
And they found that withdrawing 4% of your starting balance and, adjusting for inflation each year was historically very safe.
Exactly. And if you divide 100 by 4, you get 25.
So if you need an income of, say, $100,000 a year, you multiply 100,000 by 25, and boom, you get a target portfolio of $2.5 million.
Right. But Doug is doing this in a complete vacuum. He is forgetting the biggest piece of the puzzle.
Which is?
He's applying the 25X rule to his entire living expense without factoring in Social Security. Yeah. The 25X rule should only apply to the specific income your portfolio itself has to generate to bridge the gap.
Okay, let me actually write this out and do the math, because this is where the light bulb really goes off for me.
Go for it.
Let's say I need that $100,000 a year to live comfortably. The 25X rule says I need $2.5 million. But wait, the Social Security Administration's average benefit for retired workers is roughly, what, $2,081 a month?
Yep. Which comes out to roughly $25,000 a year.
Okay, so I subtract that guaranteed $25,000 from my total need.
Right.
So my gap drops from $100,000 down to $75,000. Now, if I multiply $75,000 by 25, I get $1.875 million.
Exactly.
I just erased over $600,000 from my portfolio target simply by remembering the government check.
Just let the emotional weight of that sink in for a second. Just by accounting for the average Social Security floor, a $600,000 burden just vanishes.
That is wild.
The math that looked completely impossible suddenly looks achievable.
I do have to push back a little bit here, though.
Okay, yeah.
Isn't it incredibly dangerous to bank on the quote-unquote average Social Security check? Because everyone's earnings history is completely different.
No, it's a very fair critique. You absolutely cannot assume the average is your exact destiny.
Right.
You have to go to sa.gov and pull your actual statement because your benefit depends entirely on your highest 35 years of earning.
Make sure you actually have those years in there.
Exactly. But the core conceptual shift is what we're highlighting here. When you subtract whatever your actual guaranteed income floor is from your total need, the remaining gap your investments have to fill is drastically smaller than that terrifying $2.5 million benchmark.
That makes total sense. All right, so with the finish line reduced, how do we actually march toward it over the next 10 years?
Let's look at it.
I want to contrast two distinct paths for a 55-year-old. Let's look at the absolute ceiling of what's legally possible to save and then compare it to the reality most of us actually live in.
Let's start with the aggressive ceiling.
Okay.
We'll call her Elena. She's 55, maybe the kids are out of the house, she has a high income, absolutely no debt, and she's in a position to just max out every single tax-advantaged account available.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
So she maxes her 401k at $32,500.
Yeah.
And that includes the standard over 50 catch-up contribution.
Yeah.
She maxes her IRA at $8,600. And she maxes her health savings account, or HSA, at $5,400, assuming she's on a high deductible plan, and gets the age 55 catch-up there, too.
So you add all of that up, and Elena's saving $46,500 a year.
Wow.
If we assume a 7% historical average real return, she ends up with somewhere between $800,000 and $815,000 by age 65.
Okay, we need to pause on that phrase for a second, real return. Why are we using 7%? And what does real actually mean in this context?
Good question. It's the difference between how your balance looks on paper versus what it can actually buy in the real world.
Oh, okay.
Historically, a diversified stock market portfolio might grow at about 10% a year, nominally meaning just the raw numbers on the screen.
Right.
But inflation eats away at your purchasing power by roughly 3% a year. So a 7% real return strips out inflation.
Got it.
It means Elena's $800,000 isn't just a future number. It has the exact same buying power as $800,000 does today.
Okay, so with an $800,000 portfolio, taking out 4% gives her $32,000 a year. Add her $25,000 Social Security, and she has $57,000 of annual replacement income.
Which is a fantastic outcome.
It really is. But time for a reality check here. $46,500 in savings, is roughly half the median household income for this entire age group, which sits around $90,100.
Yeah, it requires an enormous amount of free cash flow.
I mean, if you are balancing college tuition for your kids, or you're carrying significant debt service like a mortgage, medical bills, or credit cards, Elena's scenario is pure fantasy.
It really is.
You cannot save half your gross income.
Which is exactly why we only use Elena's scenario to establish the mathematical boundary. Like, that's the absolute max.
Right.
The practical strategy has to balance real-world obligations. So let's look at the realistic scenario for someone who is actually managing debt in everyday life.
Okay, let's do it.
Same starting balance of $87,000. But instead of maxing everything, you focus on contributing $18,000 a year.
Which is $1,500 a month. That is still ambitious, representing about 20% of that median household income, but it's far more achievable.
Right. But here is the crucial detail where the math changes for the realistic scenario. At age 55, you should not be invested in a portfolio that is 100% stocks.
Right, because of sequence of returns risk. Let's explain how dangerous that is for a second.
Please do.
If you are entirely in stocks and the market crashes 20% the year before you retire, your portfolio is basically decimated right when you need to start pulling money out.
It's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, because you end up selling shares at the absolute bottom, and your retirement math permanently breaks because those shares can never recover.
Exactly. To protect against that, a 55-year-old usually shifts to a safer allocation, something like a 60-40 portfolio. So 60% stocks, 40% bonds.
Okay.
And because bonds historically have lower returns than stocks, we use a 5.5% nominal return for this projection. After factoring in inflation, that's roughly a 3% real return.
So what is the outcome when we use a safer portfolio and realistic $1,500 a month contributions?
By age 65, your ending balance lands between $360,000 and $380,000 nominally.
Okay.
In today's real purchasing power, that is about $285,000.
Okay, not bad.
Taking a 4% withdrawal from that and adding the average Social Security benefit, your total replacement income lands between $39,000 and $44,000 a year.
And what if you just push retirement back 2 years to age 67?
Well, 2 more years of $1,500 monthly contributions, 2 more years of compounding, and the fact that delaying Social Security to your full retirement age actually increases your monthly payout.
Right, the SS bump.
Yeah, that bumps your total replacement income up to between $42,000 and $47,000 a year.
I mean, that is incredibly close to replacing half of the median household income, starting from just $87,000 at age 55. That is a completely viable life.
It absolutely is.
But this brings up a massive rule change that I think most people don't even know about. Because whether you're on the aggressive path or the realistic path, there's a time-sensitive IRS rule that can give your workplace plan a sudden acceleration.
Oh, yeah, the Secure Act 2.0 super catch-up provision.
I always think of this like a speed boost pad in a racing video game.
Like Mario Kart.
Exactly. You're driving along the track, and suddenly there are these glowing arrows painted on the ground. If you steer over them, your car just shoots forward.
Right.
It's powerful, but it only appears for 4 specific laps of your career, and you have to actually know to drive over it.
The speed boost window occurs exclusively during the calendar years you turn 60, 61, 62, and 63.
Just those 4 years.
Just those 4. During those specific years, your 401k contribution ceiling leaps from the standard $32,500 up to $35,750.
So you get an extra $11,250 over the standard base limit.
Well, just to be mathematically precise here, it replaces the standard $8,000 over 50 catch-up. It doesn't stack on top of it.
Ah, gotcha.
But if you take advantage of it over those 4 years, those extra contributions compound to an extra $16,000 in today's purchasing power, assuming historical market returns.
That's huge.
It won't fund your entire retirement, but it is free capacity waiting for you.
There is a little fine print, though, right? Especially for higher earners. And it requires understanding how the government actually taxes these accounts.
Yeah, starting in 2026, if your wages from your employer were over $150,000 in the prior year, your catch-up contributions must be made to the Roth side of your 401k.
Let's break down why the IRS is forcing that. With a traditional 401k, you get a tax deduction today, and the government basically have to wait until you retire to collect taxes on your withdrawals.
Right.
But with a Roth 401k, You pay the income tax today, but the money grows and is withdrawn completely tax-free later. Congress mandated the Roth option for these high-earner catch-ups simply because they needed the tax revenue immediately to help pay for the legislation.
Exactly. And here's the trap.
Oh boy.
If your employer's 401k plan hasn't been updated to offer a Roth option, high earners cannot make catch-up contributions at all. You are completely locked out.
See, hearing all these IRS loopholes is great in theory, but my immediate fear is that my HR department hasn't even updated our portal to allow this.
It's a very valid fear.
I mean, knowing the rules is completely useless if the workplace plan isn't configured for them. So what is the actual first move a listener should make on Monday morning to calibrate all of this to their specific full-time job?
There are 3 specific calibration steps. Step 1 is the highest leverage move you can make.
Okay, what is it?
Email your HR department. You need answers to 3 specific questions in writing.
Write these down, folks.
First, has the plan adopted the Secure 2.0 Super Catch-up provision? Second, do they offer Roth 401k contributions? And third, what is the current match formula and vesting schedule?
And the clock is aggressively ticking on this, right? Because the plan amendment deadline for most of these corporate 401k is December 31st, 2026. This is literally the year to ask.
Yes. Step 2 is establishing your true starting line. Forget those panic-inducing headlines.
Right.
Log into your portals, pull your most recent 401k and IRA statements, and just add them together. Most people find they land somewhere between $40,000 and $150,000.
Okay.
If you're in that range, everything we have calculated today is perfectly calibrated to your reality.
And step 3 is checking your HSA. If you're enrolled in an eligible high-deductible health plan, the age 55 catch-up adds an extra $1,000 to your regular contribution limit.
Yep.
It is a massive tax benefit that most eligible people completely miss because it just isn't advertised well.
The HSA is arguably the most tax-efficient vehicle available because it offers a triple tax advantage. The money goes in tax-free, it grows tax-free, and it comes out tax-free for medical expenses. Leaving that $1,000 on the table is just a huge missed opportunity.
Just to summarize all of this, because I know running financial projections can feel overwhelming.
Totally.
Currently, only 16% of eligible workers actually use catch-up contributions. But the secret is, you don't have to max out the accounts to see a benefit. Even an extra $200 a month compounds to over $33,000 by age 65.
Exactly.
The goal is to run your realistic numbers, not the terrifying benchmarks designed to just generate clicks.
The math is fundamentally more forgiving than the media claims. When you take an honest look at your Social Security floor, you give yourself 10 years of realistic, steady saving, and you utilize the catch-up toolkit, $87,000 proves to be a highly workable launchpad.
It is a massive emotional shift. You really aren't failing. But I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over, something we really haven't even touched on yet.
Oh, let's hear it.
We based all of this math on a hard stop at age 65 or 67. Like, the assumption is that the day you retire, the paychecks completely stop, and you trigger that 4% withdrawal rule.
Right.
But what if you never fully stop?
You're talking about the concept of transitioning to part-time work, often referred to in financial circles as coast fire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Consider how transitioning to a low-stress part-time coast job in your late 60s might completely shatter these baseline numbers.
Yeah.
Let's say you take a job working at a garden center or consulting just a few hours a week, just earning enough to cover your basic living expenses alongside your Social Security check.
That changes everything.
By doing that, you reduce your portfolio withdrawal burden to almost zero during those crucial early retirement years, giving your investments another 3 to 5 years to just sit there and compound untouched. That changes the entire landscape.
It really does. It completely mitigates the sequence of returns risk we discussed earlier. If the market dips, it doesn't matter because you aren't forced to sell shares to buy groceries. It's a brilliant way to rethink what the finish line actually looks like.
So think back to those 3 maps we talked about at the very beginning. If you've been staring at your $87,000 balance, using a map that tells you that you are millions of dollars away from your destination, it is time to just fold that map up and put it away.
Put it in the glove box.
Exactly. You're at the starting line, you're right in the middle of the pack, and the road ahead is entirely navigable. Stay curious, run your own numbers, and join us for the next deep dive.
The 8-page guide is free in the description.